What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ricky Gadson, and today we're going to talk about clutches. It's easy to know that you need a clutch when you're trying to accelerate and the bike just revs real high all the time. That's the obvious when you need a clutch. But then sometimes you take your bike to the shop and people, they say, you need a clutch. And you really don't know because you didn't feel like it was slipping. So today I'm going to get into showing you how to check and see if you need a clutch and change it yourself. Save yourself some money. Also, for you drag race fans, we're going to take a ZX14 stock clutch and we're going to put in the Brock's clutch mod, all right? So that everything works better and they last longer. Let's get after it. So the first thing you want to do when you take the clutch cover off is you want to see if you got the Brock's clutch mod in here and the clutch springs. This here is a stock setup. These are stock buttons and the stock screws. So that lets you know right there that you don't have the heavy duty setup. So what you want to do is you want to get the Brock's clutch cushion with the springs and the retainers. So this is what it looks like. This is what's going to go in the bike. Now, also you want to see, to know if you need clutches or not, you will look at the pressure plate here and the fingers that come off the basket. And if you look straight down from this angle here, you'll see, especially when the bike's all together and you take the clutch, the fill off, you can look down in the clutches and you can see that the fingers on the basket and the pressure plate here should be even with each other. And this one is not. If you look straight down on it, you can see I can actually stick my finger in here, and you shouldn't be able to do that. They should be flush with each other. Pressure plate and the fingers on the basket should be flush with each other. So that lets you know that you lost a lot of clutch material there and your stack height is not right. So we're going to get to pulling this thing apart. So if you look at these are the clutches that came out in the order that they came out. One thing I want you to pay attention to is that always when you put the new clutch, the new Track Kings in, always put the fattest fiber, the one with the fattest. Because if you look at these got the little thin pads on them. Always put the one with the biggest pad, if you can see the difference, all the way at the back. Then you put a steel in. And then that skinny plate, that's the skinny fiber, that's the one that goes in. It's the second fiber that goes in. And then you put your judder springs in. All right, so, but this is what we're looking at here as far as the clutches that came out, and some of the steels were warped. So that will affect you on the starting line, and it will affect the performance of the motorcycle because the clutches could be slipping. So now, if you measure a new clutch fiber, this is one of the Track King fibers. They measure, let me see, put that in. So they measure like in inches. They measure between 117 and 118. That's a new one. So that one's 117. So if you look at these, it's only 110. So you just lost that much in just one fiber. So each one of them, remember, they're supposed to measure 117. So this is how you check it. That one's only 109. Absolutely, these clutches are done. 111. So if you remember, I showed you the way that they're supposed to look when they sit inside, when the whole stack is together. And when the pressure plate is not even with the fingers on the basket, that lets you know that you lost stack height. And this is exactly the reason why you would have lost stack height. So ain't no need measuring the rest of these. I'm putting a whole new stack in anyway. Just wanted to show you what they should measure versus each one that you go through. You're going to see how much you're off. So that's all we on the back side. So that's 114. So either way, like I said, we're putting new ones in anyway. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get rid of these. This is for your back torque limiter for road racing and downshifting at high speeds, so that your back wheel don't chatter and stuff when you're downshifting. So you want to get rid of that, and you want to replace it with the Brock's clutch mod. This is the part that helps the pressure plate, keeps pressure on the pressure plate. And make sure when you put it in, you don't put it in, it looks like it's supposed to go that way, but make sure Brock's is facing outward. Then what you want to do is you want to get rid of the stock springs and put in these Brock's aftermarket springs. Everything you need is right here. That's basically everything we're going to put back in it. With we're going to be putting 180,000 spacers. These don't have any spacers on it. We're going to be putting 180,000 spacers on it. I think it's 180,000. But anyway, I'll show you them. Alright, so as I was telling you before, these are the spacers that you want to put in. So basically, they sit like that. And when you measure them, this is for a ZX14. I normally put these in with stock arm and everything, but the longer the arm, the more static you need on it. So that's what they measure. That's what they measure. So we're gonna put 6 of them on every spring. We're gonna put 1 on every spring. Remember, like I told you, when you put the fibers in, make sure that the one with the thick fiber goes in first. And then it's all, you always start with a fiber and end with a fiber, always, in every clutch situation. So it's fiber steel, and so on and so forth. And there's that skinny one I was telling you about. That skinny one goes on second one because the chatter rings go inside of that. And with the chatter rings, you got 2 of them. You got one that's flat, and you got one that's like concaved. All right, so you make sure the one that's concave faces that outward towards you. All right. Flat one goes in first. Then the rest of them just go in fiber steel, all the way till you get to the end. And yes, I do. This everybody always asks, you got to soak the clutches. You want them to have oil because when they're in the motorcycle, they're getting oil. So you want them to start with oil on them. So the best case scenario is to soak them in oil. And if you don't soak them in oil, at least put a thin, dip them in oil before you put them in so they don't go in dry. As far as the steel goes, Steels don't have to have oil, but same thing. You can wet them with oil before you put them in. Alright, that's what that's supposed to look like. Always inside the pressure plate is always this needle bearing. Make sure this needle bearing is still in there when you put it in. It's a needle bearing and a washer. Just make sure they're still in there when you put it in. And also, when you put this pressure plate on, there's a certain way, there's grooves in the basket here. You see that? Then these teeth right here, they fit inside here. So there is a certain way you have to put it on so that it goes on. And again, I don't recommend this, and I only do this because I've been doing this for so long, but I don't recommend you start with a gun. You don't use a gun to put the screws in, because if you cross thread it, it's going to be a long day. I just kind of have a good feel for it after all these years. But players fuck up too. You should not do this with a gun. You should not do this with a gun. And you also got to know how much torque to put on it. You don't want to sit there and run it in on maximum torque and then end up ripping out the holes. So basically, you know your clutches are in good shape because the end of the pressure plate right here, you see these nubs on the basket? If you look straight down like this, they should line up. Like this shouldn't be in further than when you run your hand across here, they're basically even. If you ran your hand across here and this was sticking out more, you got too much stack height. If it's in more, then you don't have enough stack height. So if you put a straight edge between here and here, you basically, it should be just about there. So as they wear, it will get worse and worse. When you look straight down, you can see clutch is fine. When you pull the clutch lever in, you see what happens? You let it go. Alright, now the clutch can spin freely. When you let it go, it locks it up. So, anyway, if what you found here today was helpful and you want to see more of it, please click like and subscribe to the Rickey Gadson YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this, and you guys can actually tell me what you want to see. Like, as far as working, you know, I'm not going to be tearing no motors down, okay? But as far as putting swing arms on, bearings and wheels, sprockets, taking body parts off, check in with me, like and subscribe, and you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. And I got plenty of stuff, I just haven't posted it. Alright guys, I hope this has been helpful. Talk to you later.